Okay, grade 2s, let's start on this. I'm on page 27. Okay. He awoke at 6 and saw the rain, and it seemed as though he couldn't hear it. Oh, I read that wrong again. I need to go back and reread. He awoke at 6 and saw the rain, and it seemed as though he couldn't bear it. I think it is Wilbur who's going to be very lonely in this chapter, starting to get lonely. I get everything all beautifully planned out, and it has to go and rain, he said. For a while he stood gloomily indoors. Then he walked to the door and looked out. Drops of rain struck his face. His yard was cold and wet. His trough had an inch of rainwater in it. Templeton was nowhere to be seen. "Are you out there, Templeton?" called Wilbur. There was no answer. Suddenly Wilbur felt lonely and friendless. One day, just like another, he groaned. "I'm very young. I have no real friend here in the barn. It's going to rain all day and all afternoon. And Fern won't come in. Such bad weather. Oh, honestly." And Wilbur was crying again for the second time in 2 days. At 6:30, Wilbur heard the banging of the pail. Lurvy was standing outside in the rain, stirring up breakfast. "Come on, Pig," said Lurvy. Wilbur did not budge. Lurvy dumped the slops, scraped the pail, and walked away. He noticed that something was wrong with the pig. Wilbur didn't want food. He wanted love. He wanted a friend, someone who would play with him. He mentioned this to the goose, who was sitting... I have to say, I think the goose, I mentioned that to someone yesterday, I think the goose is my favorite character. I like how the goose repeats their words. It's super funny in the book. Sitting quietly in a corner of the sheepfold. "Will you come over and play with me?" he asked. Sorry, Sonny, sorry," said the goose. "I'm sitting on my eggs, 8 of them. Got to keep them toasty warm. I have to stay right here. I'm no flibbery-gibbery-gibbet. I do not play when there are eggs to hatch. I'm expecting gooselings." "Well, I didn't think you were expecting woodpeckers," said Wilbur bitterly. Oh, Wilbur's in a bad mood, hey? Wilbur next tried one of the lambs. "Will you play, please? Would you please play with me?" he asked. "Certainly not," said the lamb. "In the first place, I cannot get into your pen, as I am not old enough to jump over the fence. In the second place, I am not interested in pigs. Pigs mean less than nothing to me." "What do you mean less than nothing?" replied Wilbur. "I don't think there is any such thing as less than nothing. Nothing is absolutely the limit of nothingness. It's the lowest you can go. It's the end of the line. How can something be less than nothing? If there was something that was less than nothing, then nothing would be nothing. It would be something, even though it's just a little bit of something. But if nothing is nothing, then nothing has nothing that is less than it is." "Oh, be quiet," said the lamb. "Go play by yourself. I don't play with pigs." Sadly, Wilbur lay down and listened to the rain. Soon he saw the rat climbing down a slanting board that he used as a stairway. "Will you play with me, Templeton?" asked Wilbur. "Play," said Templeton, twirling his whiskers. "Play? I hardly know the meaning of the word." "Well," said Wilbur, "it means to have fun, to frolic, to run and skip, and make merry." "I never do those things if I can avoid them," replied the rat sourly. "I prefer to spend my time eating, gnawing, spying, and hiding. I am a glutton, but not a merry maker. Right now I am on my way to your trough to eat your breakfast, since you haven't got any sense enough to eat it yourself." And Templeton the rat crept stealthily along the wall and disappeared into a private tunnel that he had dug between the door and the trough. In Wilbur's yard, Templeton was a crafty rat, and he had Templeton was a crafty rat, and he had things pretty much his own way. The tunnel was an example of his skill and cunning. The tunnel enabled him to get from the barn to his hiding place under the pig trough without coming out into the open. He had tunnels and runways all over Mr. Zuckerman's farm and could get from one place to another without being seen. Usually he slept during the daytime and was abroad only after dark. You know, animals that are out at night and not during the day, do you know what they're called? I think you guys know they're called nocturnal animals. So they sleep during the day and then they're out running around and gathering food and eating at night. I'm going to stop there, boys and girls. So my go to part 3 for chapter 4. And we'll finish reading the book, the chapter, not the book. We'll finish reading chapter 4.